Alright, so this video is going to be me just more or less launching the few games that I have installed currently on my Linux install and just playing them for a minute, testing them, to give you a little bit of context as to how I got to this point, and my computer specifications, which I'll go ahead and go over first. I have a Ryzen 7 5700 8-core 16-thread CPU, 32 gigs of DDR4 running at 3200 megahertz. I have a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD, as well as an RTX 4060 Ti with 8 gigs of GDDR6 video memory. And the additional context is that I basically just finished a 1-month commitment challenge to not switch computer operating systems, period. I chose Windows 11, and over the past month, I've learned a lot. It's taught me a lot about devoting myself to one thing, impulse control, being happy with what you got. And at the very beginning of that challenge, before I even started it, I was already thinking about it. I knew that I wanted to do that with Linux, but permanently. So I used Windows 11 as a stepping stone to kind of learn that self-control. And now what I would like to do is use Linux for everything else that I could possibly use it for, minus the few things that having a secondary Windows drive might be useful for, such as, say, Star Wars Outlaws comes out and I want to play it. It doesn't work on Linux for some reason. I would keep a Windows drive for that. Or, say, my friends want to fire up Warzone for the first time in 6 months. I would want to play that with them. So, otherwise, I would love to fully commit to Linux, specifically Linux Mint. Linux Mint 22 is coming out very soon, and it looks awesome. They're finally shipping Linux Mint with a newer Linux kernel, which is just going to be awesome. I'm very psyched for that. But for now, we're just going to pull this open here. I did not mean for that to launch in full screen. I'm going to test a few games that I actually have installed. As you can see, all of these games that I'm installing are games that work in Linux. I've had zero issues with any of them, except for Wolfenstein 2. I noticed that when I was testing that in Garuda the other day, tabbing out would break the game, but I don't know if that's going to happen in Linux Mint. I've had a much better and more stable experience with Linux Mint, generally speaking, than the more cutting-edge distributions, so I'm sure it will be fine. But if not, that's just kind of like a caveat that comes with Linux gaming sometimes. Little things like that can just affect the game in a negative way. Not a big deal for me. If I'm playing a game, I don't want to be alt-tabbing very much anyway. I want to be focused. So we're going to start off with Carrion, then we'll go Dark Souls 2, then Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and then Sekiro. Sekiro is the main one that I'm interested in testing because I'm kind of into that game right now, so is my friend. I've been watching him play it. But we're going to go ahead and go over these four. And all four of these games are running on Proton 9, the latest stable release. I can right-click properties, actually, and just show you. Well, I'll have to click this box. It's Proton 9.0-2. I have that set as my default Proton version, so I don't actually have to have that box checked. Every game that I just click install on will automatically use that version of Proton. So it says there's an update queued. That's just not true. Go ahead and double click and launch. And I'm basically just going to show you that the game is working. I might crawl around for a second, and then we're going to switch to the next game. And when we get to Sekiro, I might actually play it for a few minutes. Carrion is a really good game, by the way. I bought it years ago, and I just now recently played it, and I love it. It is so much fun. I really like games that you can play with one hand. Just very comfortable. It's just kind of like a nice change of pace. And by the way, this entire time I've been stuck on not knowing where the hell to go. I haven't really put any effort into figuring it out recently, but it's definitely annoying. Maybe I gotta deposit the biomass. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. Okay, wait, what? Did I just figure out something I didn't mean to figure out? I got the I'm swimmy. I'm swimming different. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into this right now. Yeah, okay. Well, that is not useful to me at all. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm already getting to that point where I'm just like, okay. I don't want to get into it too much. Carrion works. I played through all of the game up to this point in Linux. Dark Souls 2 is next, using the latest stable release of Proton. Dark Souls 2 is a fine game. I like it quite a bit. I like the original version more than Scholar of the First Sin. That's what I'm going to be testing. And I'll just run maybe to like the first or maybe not the first hub world because it is the hub world. I might run to Majula. And if you launch a game, by the way, and you haven't played it yet in Linux, and you see launching, if this was in the full-size Steam mode, you would see that it was installing redistributables and basically the files that it needs to work. That's how it works in Windows, and since we're using Proton, that's how it works in Linux. It's just a little bit different, but that's what it's doing. So if it takes a little bit to launch, just let it do its thing. And sometimes we'll leave it shader comp, which will take even longer. Checking save data, loading calibrations. Okay. Now we just have to wait an hour to scroll through this for some reason. Come on. This is really annoying. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I'm going to click deny. I don't really care. We're going to be playing at 1080p, auto detect, best render settings off, and we're going to come over here and just set this to high preset. We're just going to click new game. A to confirm. I'm not going to mess with anything else because the mouse and keyboard controls for this game kind of suck. I definitely don't have it in me to try and figure them out right now. Okay, the cutscene is busted. That is a Proton issue. I'm thinking that if I were to switch this to Glorious Egg Roll, it would probably be fine. Though, to be honest, in the past, I didn't notice it doing that, so I'm not really sure why that's happening at this moment, but definitely not an issue. Changing Proton versions would most likely fix that. Glorious, basically, what I'm trying to say is, if that happens in a game, Glorious Egg Roll usually fixes it, because it has the fixes needed for the actual FMV implementation. It's always been that way. Like, back in the day, you could play Resident Evil 2, but the cutscenes would break the game. You'd have to use Glorious Egg Roll to play the game without that happening. And, you know, some things just are still like that. That's not really as much of an issue now. Like, I would say 8 out of 10 times in my experience, you could just as easily use standard Proton over Glorious Egg Roll and still have the FMVs work. But ever so often, that will happen. So I'm just going to finalize my creation and go forward. We're not going to spend much time here. The game is working very beautifully, though. And we're just going to run straight to Majula. This is basically flawless. I mean, the game is stuttering ever so often. I am downloading games in the background. That is what's causing the stutter. It just does that. Steam's very resource intensive when you download games. It's totally playable, very smooth. Looks very good. I think this is a very beautiful game. Definitely got a unique art style. And yeah, one thing I really love about this game is you will walk through a cave and you'll see like an opening in the path that you're taking, whether it be a big door or whatever, and you'll walk out to like a totally different planet. I mean, look at this. Like a totally different game. Like, we were not just here. We were transported to Mars to a teleporter or something from Earth. It's just crazy. Alright, so that's Dark Souls 2. It's working good, as I expected it to. Let's go ahead and go over here, quit game. Yes. And then we will test Return to Castle Wolfenstein. I'm just going to hit Alt F4. Bam. Return to Castle Wolfenstein, here we go. I've already actually tested this before starting recording, just because I really like this game and I want to play it for a minute. I'm really bad at it. I have not changed anything about this game's resolution. It gets really finicky if you do that. I've had it absolutely break in Windows and Linux. Probably not a good idea. I'm happy with the 4:3 aspect ratio or whatever this is. And all I did was went to the options and I turned the graphics up. So as you can see, everything on high, long, eucratic, chrono distance, particles, yes. And we'll go to load game. And we will choose our save as. I don't know why it's called as. I must have aimed at that. We'll click load. And I'm definitely not going to be playing this for very long because, as I mentioned, I'm really bad. It's good that we have some ammo. I'm very confused. Okay. Good lord. I'm very confused. I thought... I'm very turned around right now. I thought I was in a totally different location. Okay. There we go, I'll take it. It's a very, very good game. I think this is like a top tier FPS game. It's definitely an old school FPS game. Like it's aged a little bit differently. Oh my gosh. Okay. You're not supposed to pick up that sword. Alright, continue. Whoa! Okay, I'm dead. Perfect place to quit. Very difficult game. I'm playing on the hard difficulty. Great game. I definitely recommend playing it. You can even play the multiplayer for it, which is pretty cool. And now we're going to do Sekiro, which is arguably the most graphically intensive and hard to run game so far that I've tested. This game will give your PC a run for its money, even if you've got a decent GPU. There are certain aspects of the open world that are extremely stressful for CPU, and it can always be really disheartening to see your awesome PC brought to like 45 FPS because a couple buildings have to be rendered. So I don't have a frame rate counter open. I'm not going to open one. I can visually tell if it drops frames, and if it feels bad and looks bad, I'll just say that, because it probably wouldn't carry over very well in the video here, but I'm not worried about that happening because I've personally tested this game on this computer many times, so probably going to be fine. We're just going to let it go, let it do its thing. Might take a minute to load. There we go. And we're going to be playing this at 1080p max settings, by the way. We're going to keep the games downloading in the background. I don't mind stressing the game a little bit. Settings, graphics, full screen. We'll do max. And unless it causes terrible performance issues, I will turn off the download. Now, what I'm seeing right here is visual issues caused from screen capture and OBS. Now, screen capture and OBS works if your game is not super graphically demanding. Otherwise, as you can see, it's not great. Looking bad. We're going to come over here and we're just going to window capture X composite. Bam. I'm going to do Sekiro. I'm going to lock that and I'm going to kill screen capture. Okay. I thought that was going to fix it. It's looking like I might have to pause the installation. I don't really know why. Why is it doing this? It's definitely smoother now, but it's still lagging. There we go. It's straightening up. Yeah. So the game was running much worse due to me downloading something in the background. That doesn't usually happen. Like, my games may stutter a little bit, but it's never like this where it just totally demolishes FPS. But it stabilized, normalized after a couple seconds. That's all that matters. Okay. So we're just gonna play this for a minute, and then we'll move on, of course. Hey, buddy, I don't appreciate that. I'm gonna bring this guy into the fight. Now that I got the FPS issue sorted out, I feel slightly confident to fight this guy. Look, I need you to help me with the boss there, buddy. Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, that oddity that we just experienced from downloading the game, I would wager to guess that maybe it's just a side effect of being on an older Linux kernel. Not a big deal. Like I said, Linux Mint 22 is coming out very soon, so I think it'll be totally fine. Wow, it's looking like we're never gonna get to fight this guy because of these sons of guns. Okay, let's just heal. Come on. What is... Dude, he is deflecting all my attacks. This is one of the enemies in my time playing this game that I've not fought very much. I'm really bad at him. Not to mention I'm playing with Kuro's Charm. And I don't know if I did the one that's harder. You can either keep it or give it to Kuro. I just forget which one makes it harder. I think giving it to Kuro makes it harder. Like having it with you makes the game easier. And I have the difficult version, so the enemies have a lot more health. Biggest issue that I have right now is that I don't have the axe prosthetic. I just didn't pick it up, and that will make the shield enemies far easier to bear. Not to mention, I could also pick off all the guys surrounding the boss, and that is like the strat to get that fight to a fair level, because otherwise you're fighting him with all those guys. It just makes it a little cringy. But you know what? Doesn't matter right now. I'm just going to run around back through this area, and yeah, we'll just look around. The game is running at a perfect 60 frames per second, by the way. I've not noticed a single frame drop. It looks absolutely stunning, and you gotta remember, we are recording with OBS at 10,000 bit rate with the NVENC encoder at 1080p at 60 FPS, so no compromises on recording quality, and it looks absolutely wonderful. And in Linux, I've noticed that most games run at basically in borderless windowed, no matter what you do. If you click full screen, it's running in borderless windowed mode. So, window capture works for basically every single game. I'm very excited for Linux Mint 22. I think it's going to be awesome. I hope it's as good as, well, as this is. Is he gonna, can we just... Okay, so we can just deflect them. Come on, buddy. Are you kidding me? Hey, yeah. No, I need you to hit me. Okay. Okay, you can cheese it. I see. Man, well... Next time I decide to fight the drunkard back there, at least I know how to kind of bait those guys into the best attacks possible. That's really cool that he can just hit through my attacks. There we go. Yeah, I'm doing pretty sloppily tonight. I still love it. It's such a fun game. Like a perfect experience. Go can sugar. Wait, may I hot sugar? No, we're about to call it quits here, but I'm gonna go to the opening area. In this particular area, because it's a lot of open space, water, and it looks very beautiful. Noticing little micro stutters here and there. Those happen in literally every game ever, in my experience. So, totally expected. Especially in the FromSoft games. Especially in Elden Ring. It was really bad for a very long time. It got better. Now I would say it's on par with a game like this or Dark Souls 3, where it feels far better thanks to updates. But I don't know if anybody remembers when Elden Ring came out, it was bad. So bad. It was so bad, in fact, that I actually refunded the game for like a couple days. Purchase items, Withered Red Gourd, Divine Grass. You know, I think I'm gonna get out of here, buddy. Oh, that's Sekiro. Escaped, close, options, quit game. The game was running beautifully, except for when I had other games downloading in the background. That thing I said about OBS, by the way, full screen capture, is true. If a game is super graphically intensive and it's stressing your GPU, it will cause the full screen capture to interfere with the actual frame pacing. It looks terrible. So if that happens, definitely recommend window capture. And with that being said, if you have games downloading in the background and you are on Linux Mint 21.2, or I don't know if it's 21.2 or 21.3, the latest stable release that you can download right now, then And the only reason I'm assuming it's an older Linux kernel issue is because I've done this with newer Linux distributions like Garuda Cinnamon and, amongst other things, and Ubuntu. And I never experienced slowdown like that with a game downloading. Now, of course, that was simply with Sekiro. Um, Maybe initial shader comp matched with that caused it. I don't know. If I launched the game again and tested it, maybe that wouldn't be the case. I forgot to turn display capture back on. But, you know, that's really the only massive difference between this distribution and some of the newer ones. Just a different Linux kernel. And in my experience, a more up-to-date Linux kernel does perform better in heavy workloads. But, like I said, looking at you, Linux Fan 22, I can't wait. You're going to be awesome. What do we learn from this video? Well, gaming in Linux Mint is excellent. It's a very good experience. I love it. It's no compromise. I'm not losing anything playing my games on here. Everything is wonderful. You can still mod games too. Like, for instance, I'm going to make a tutorial on this, but I can install Elden Ring Seamless Co-op and use the Save Manager in Linux and an Unlock FPS mod with Elden Mod Loader. Totally fine in Linux. It takes a little bit of elbow grease. It's a little complicated, especially getting the Save Manager to work. But like I said, I'm going to make a video about that. It's going to be awesome. But until then, I had fun testing these out. One day I will come back and test the rest of these in a video. There's some very intensive games here. Stalker Clear Skies, notoriously poorly optimized. Resident Evil games all look and run awesome. Probably can come and play those at some point. Quantum Break, Neo 2, Midnight Suns, Guardians of the Galaxy, God of War, Lords of the Fallen, Elden Ring are some of the more intense games, and Dragon's Dogma 2. Those are the ones that I'm more interested in testing because they are newer or newer-ish, and definitely the heaviest games in my library. As well as I plan on installing. I have Heroic installed, just haven't really set it up yet, but I've thought about testing out the Resident Evil GOG ports. I know that you can install the Resident Evil GOG release like Resident Evil 1 through Lutris, and I had it work when I tested it in Pop! OS, but I've also had it not work in other distributions. So I don't know how it's going to work in Linux Mint, but it works flawlessly when it does work, except for the actual FMVs don't work. That kind of sucks. Probably something that's going to be fixed in the future. Honestly, something that might be totally avoidable if you install the game launcher through Steam and do all that funny stuff that you can do, where you basically change the exe and launch it with a certain Proton version. Maybe doing that with Glorious Egg Roll would result in a different experience. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that gets better really soon. If not, like I said, I'm going to keep a secondary Windows drive. It doesn't matter. And as far as gaming content is concerned, I'm going to do all of it in Linux that I can. Do most of my content creation in Linux. But when Star Wars Outlaws comes out, if it doesn't work in Linux, I'm going to be streaming it in Windows. I'm looking forward to it. I really, really hope that game's good. And then, of course, God of War Ragnarok. I'm so psyched to go back and play that game. I beat it on PS4 when it came out. I am so excited to play it on PC. And what I'm going to do leading up to that game is actually replay through God of War 2018. So it's going to be great. Till then, hope you enjoyed the video. If you're interested in Linux, it's the perfect time to get into it with the NVIDIA or AMD GPU. You're least likely to be miserable now than you would have been years ago. And especially if you're a gamer, content creator, there's ways to basically get everything that you need done in an efficient manner. As long as you're not devoted to one singular piece of proprietary software like the Adobe Suite. But I totally get it. Some people are. That's their workflow. They love it. They prefer it. And I totally understand staying on Windows. Like I said, I'm keeping a secondary drive. I just want to make my primary OS not that. But I totally understand. I'm not like one of those Linux elitists that's like, oh, if you use Windows, you're cringe. You're giving into the system. You're letting them spy on you and steal your data. I don't care. We buy computers to use them. And while I don't agree with Microsoft and a lot of the decisions that they make, and I believe that Windows should have a version that is purchasable from an everyday user that has no telemetry and has all of the pre-installed software available for uninstallation without any headache. That's just not the case. And Windows 11 and 10 are both extremely functional despite its shortcomings. And in that way, I appreciate how good Windows 11 works. I actually like the way it looks too. I like the start menu and how you can create folders. I love a lot of things about Windows 11 and especially 10. But like I said, despite the shortcomings, doesn't matter. I totally get it. You need to use it. You need to use it. I need to use it. Most people need to use it. So While I recommend you give Linux a shot, I totally understand if it's not for you. And I believe that we're going to grow this community by being accepting and understanding of other people's situations and their wants and needs instead of pointing the finger and being elitist about it. I'm spawning off into another 30-minute conversation. I mean, you could make 10 videos on the subject that I'm covering right now. So I'm going to cut myself off before I go too far. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to help my channel grow, be sure to click all the nice shiny buttons below the video title. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. If you do decide to switch to Linux, you have any questions ever, leave a comment. I've got such a small viewer base at this moment that I could help people out and actually see comments. So feel free to ask. And until next time, it's been your friend No Viewers, and I'll see you around.